All right, so I just saw Luca. It is released on Disney Plus, which is kind of a shame. I think this movie would have been gorgeous on the big screen, but they went to Disney Plus with this, so all right, whatever. And this is Pixar's latest film, and to sum it up real quick, I think it's terrific. I really liked it. This is a really charming, funny, delightful, almost Miyazakian in some ways movie. It reminded me a lot kind of Kiki and, I don't know, maybe Porco Rosso, just sort of like these smaller stories that are supernatural, but there's more a feeling of the village and the neighborhood and the people and the small wants and the small journeys of these characters, which is not to say there's no drama or anything like that. There definitely is, but this is not something where there's going to be an end of the world or everybody on whatever this island's going to die or something like that. You know, it's a very, very small, innocent, likable story, and I really thought it was fantastic. The animation, gorgeous. This takes place in Italy, and it is just shot, you know, I say shot like it's really there. That's almost how lifelike sometimes it feels. But no, the scenery in this is so beautiful. The colors are bright and vibrant. But what really works about it for me really is the characters. And the story is very simple. Like I said before, it's about these, I don't know exactly what they're called, these little fish monsters that kind of look like the creatures from the Black Lagoon, like the more friendly or colorful version of that. And they live underwater near this island, and I'll just say, the first 5 minutes of this, I thought I was gonna hate this movie. So if you're watching the first 5 minutes and you're like, this isn't grabbing me, man, give it a chance. But if you watch the first 5 minutes and you're fine, you're gonna be fine throughout the whole thing. So it starts off with this little boy named Luca. He's this little fish boy who herds sheep that bat underwater. Again, you can kind of guess why I wasn't digging this at first. And he has a family that says you can't go up to the surface. The humans are dangerous. Haven't heard that before in a Disney movie. But as soon as he gets to the surface, all the scales and gills and everything, they go away and they become human. And whenever any water gets on them, you know, even if someone like spits water on them, you'll see bits of the gills and the different colors and stuff like that. That's a super clever idea. It's just a great idea. And he finds another boy up there living on his own, living as a human, but he's also one of these fish monsters. And he forms a friendship with him. He shows him how to be human. It's freaking adorable. My favorite is just when he's trying to show him how to walk, because Luca just wants to swim, so he keeps going like this. And he's trying to explain how to use the feet, and my favorite is like, just put your foot out, and just as you're falling, catch yourself with your foot. Like, it's such a funny, simple way of putting it, but you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like, it really brings you into this world that, yes, it is a goofy, silly idea of these little fish people, but again, kind of like a Miyazaki movie, you feel like you can, like, what would you do if you were in this situation? How would you explain it? How would you learn how to walk too? It's such a silly little thing, but it really, really sucks you in, and I think the likability of these two boys, one that's very cocky and kind of full of himself, acts like he knows everything, but will quickly admit when he doesn't too, and this other boy is very naive, very timid, doesn't know about the human world, but he's curious about it. They mix very, very well, and they just do stupid boy things where they try to ride these little bikes off a ramp. They're obsessed with getting this Vespa, as you don't know, that's one of those little Italian scooters. And again, just to give you an idea of how this movie works and how charming it is, you have the first time Lucas sees a poster of a Vespa, he gets these fantasies in his head of what it's like, and he's never seen one before, so the first thing that pops in his head is it can kind of fly. It can fly over water, and he can go up into space where he's told the stars are fish, and the moon is one big fish, so you see the stars kind of swimming with them, and he's gonna touch the giant fish that's a moon, and that is just so imaginative and so cool, and also really funny, and it looks amazing too during those fantasies. So that's another part of why it's so great. But so they want to enter this sort of this triathlon. It's this really bizarre race where you have to swim, eat a big meal, and then bike. It's very, very weird. And they come across this girl who has tried it, and she keeps failing because she keeps throwing up, which is understandable. And my favorite line in the movie is his bully is making fun of her. Even the bully is funny. It's like I hate bullies in movies because they're so boring, but this one's very funny. And he says, "Oh, what, are you gonna quit again?" And she says, "I didn't quit. They forced me to stop." That is she said so confidently that really made me laugh. But she befriends the boys. They're gonna help her out with the race, and they're gonna try and get money to get a Vespa. She introduces them to her dad. The dad's very funny. His cat is very funny. Again, really looks like a Studio Ghibli kind of cat too. And you see the friendship they form. You see them kind of get jealous sometimes. You see like their dreams will kind of shift as well. Their goals will kind of shift, and they're understandable. You understand why they do. You understand why they fight. You understand why they get angry at each other. You understand when one kind of betrays another in a scene where I always say if I gasp at a movie, it's doing something right. I did gasp at this scene where one kind of betrays another friend. I was like, oh, again, which I'm just like, this movie's working, man. It's working if I really let out a big gasp. You get it, you understand, and the way it resolves itself is a little quick, but the cliches they kind of do in this movie that I usually hate. Again, don't go to the surface world and, fight prejudice and, don't listen to them, stay away. Oh, the bully, don't listen to the bully. Oh, he's going to be mean. Oh, everyone's going to judge you. All of that. The third act breakup, which is kind of in this too. All of that is only done out of necessity, and they don't focus on the bullshit that you've seen a million times. They keep it to what is important to the character, what's going to keep the movie going forward, and what you're emotionally invested in. And even through all of these, kind of very familiar steps I've seen in other stories, they still really keep you anchored with these good, strong characters, these beautiful visuals, these funny jokes, and this story that does turn out to be very, very charming. With that said, it's funny because if you've watched me talk about other Disney movies recently, I'm not a big fan of the fight the prejudice, fight everyone's against everyone, show them the way. I feel like we're gonna look back years later and say, oh, this film came out during the Trump years, right? Because everybody suddenly has to be the big, important, don't be racist movie, and most of them don't work because they put the message first. And it's a good message. How you gonna say don't be racist is a bad message? But they always put the message first, and they do not put the characters of the story first. The only exception, I think, is Zootopia. And again, the reason that worked is that on top of it having a really good analogy and really diving into this kind of stuff and not just saying, don't be racist. They really dive into the other elements of it. It still presented us with interesting characters, funny characters you want to be with from beginning, middle, and end. You want to figure out what's going on. And this is the same thing. There is definitely this kind of prejudice analogy that's easy to, if you see a fish monster, you're going to be, the hell is that? It's something where you're going to naturally react very big. And, any kind of monster you're going to be, a little fearful of. And we've seen this kind of story before. This one definitely, I don't know if I have to be careful about this, but I feel like there's a very obvious analogy in there that I have to do more research on it, but I guess Pixar says it isn't in there, or maybe it is, I don't know. But again, that's one of the nice things about a movie like this is that you can read it in there, or you don't. You can just show this as, here's a kid's movie about two kids that want to win a race. That's it. Or you can watch it and really see like this analogy about, these kids that one is, they're trying not to be outed. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that felt very, very obvious, but you don't have to see it that way. You can still see it as just, a story about these fish boys. They're trying to blend into the human world. There is one line at the end where I'm just like, come on, Pixar, where they're like, you think they'll be okay? Well, not everybody will fully accept them, but I think the majority will learn to like, it was a real hammer on the head moment, and I'm just like, really? Like, we're gonna act like this isn't what's going on? But again, what I enjoy about it is that it's kind of like Black Panther. You can see that as, man, there's a lot of meaning and there's a lot of depth and there's a lot of layers to this. Or you can see it as a superhero movie. Either works, and I think that's why a film like this really works. Or same thing with, like, I always crap on District 9, because I'm like, unless you see it for the obvious analogy it is, the film doesn't work. I don't even think it worked that well as an analogy, honestly. It's something where it has to still work in the world it's created, and it really works in this world, because they really do have the main focus be, the characters, what they want. Even though they're smaller goals, you still relate to them. You relate to them being in a new world. You relate to one of them trying to act like they know everything and another one, knowing nothing and being more honest. And like I said, even the know-it-all will say, yeah, I've been there. No, I haven't, but I've always wanted to. Like, he'll kind of, go backwards and tell the truth as well. And real quick, I want to, because I always bring up this kid whenever he's in something. Here we go. Because I brought up this kid before. I really think he deserves more credit. Jacob Tremblay. Now, I say that he plays Luca. I say that he deserves more credit, and I don't mean that like he's not getting enough attention, because he's kind of in a lot of stuff now. I almost mean that more from me, because the first thing I saw him in was one of the Smurfs movies, and I did a review of that, and I just ripped him apart. I made fun of him. He was really, really bad in it. But again, he looked like he was 3 or something. I don't know. It's just not a good performance. But this kid, in like everything he's in now, is phenomenal. He was in Room. He was in, was it Good Boys? He even had a small part in Dr. Sleep, but he was wonderful in it. He was like chillingly good. And he is just so goddamn charming in this. And every single time I see him, I'm like, oh, that's that kid. And that's another thing. I almost never recognize him too. I'm like, oh, it's that kid. Oh my God, he's so great. So I really wanted to put attention on him as well, because I really think he does such a good job as Luca in this. And really everybody does a super, super good job. They are just so incredibly likable. So, yeah, I highly recommend this movie. I think it's bright and colorful. I think kids can watch it and have a good time. I think adults can watch it and have a good time. There's a lot of little in-jokes. Again, in my opinion, a very obvious analogy, but that could just be me. I don't know. Even if you don't read that into it, you can still see it as just a good story about overcoming something that you're not sure about. Even without getting into spoilers, even the resolution at the end is a little rushed, but we've seen this done in so many other movies and stories that I was kind of thankful, and just sort of the laid back nature of this town anyway. I was like, yeah, I can almost buy this, honestly. And they all sort of made a connection, with the boys and everything. So I bought it enough. I think it was just a really delightful movie. I want to say I enjoyed it from beginning to end, but like I said, I didn't like the first 5 minutes, but I still really hugely recommend it for the parts that really do work, which honestly is most of it. So what'd you guys think? Did you see Luca? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you feel like it handled more of that prejudice analogy better this time around? Or do you think it's just being done too many times? It's the same thing here. It like got in the way of the story and characters. I thought it worked really, really well, because I thought the story and characters were so good. But everybody's different. Do you wish it was released on the big screen? Are you glad it's on Disney Plus so you don't have to go out and see it? Let me know what you think, because I don't know what the initial reaction. I know it's got good critical praise and everything, but I don't know what like the online reaction is. So yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Take care.